Welcome to the Right Pour podcast. Today we're going to talk about Old Dominick and some of its awesome history coming out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, well, this is a 6-year cask strength bourbon that comes in at 123.8 proof, which remarkably it entered the barrel at 110, and it ended up gaining 13.8 proof points in the barrel, which I don't understand that at all. I don't understand how that works. So if anybody could explain that, because we got to have to study on that.
I would like to know. I mean, with the time it's spent in there, I don't know how the ferment. Well, it's not really fermentation.
Yeah,
resting.
that's what. To me, I can understand how that would work with fermentation, but I don't get that.
I don't get it there either.
So,
but this is also high rye too. So this is a 44% rye.
Okay.
So this is three grains, but it's a high rye bourbon as well. So
okay, so that again, that's science that I don't understand, and I wasn't that good. I wasn't a good chemist, but
I don't know if being a high rye makes it gain more proof points in the barrel over a wheated. I'm not really sure, but. Yeah. It's kind of interesting, so I mean, I'd like to know. So, any distillers out there that want to teach us, please, please tell us,
or anybody that might know the question to that, because we don't know, and I don't really know how. I mean, Rick can look it up, but we'd rather you guys teach us.
Exactly, we want to learn from y'all. So let's dive into this one. I mean, so this has been family owned since 1866.
1866.
Yep, 1866. So they've been around for quite some time, and they actually started with doing grocery stuff, and then he had bottles in ceramic jars and would sell those under the Old Dominick name.
Oh, okay.
So like that's how they kind of got started, as they were doing grocery distribution back even before then. They started like just starting in it, and then that's when they were like, all right, well, let's release these whiskeys, and they started doing that right off the bat, and you could still buy that recipe today.
Oh wow! So it's basically it's a family label.
Yeah. So so originally it was the Old Dominick Toddy, and you can go on their website and you can look it up, and they still have the Toddy for sale. I think it's like 40 proof or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like their version of a hot toddy, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I reckon.
No, that's how they started originally selling it, and then Prohibition came, which we'll get into a little bit later. But then they came back, and so these bottles were started in 2017.
Okay, so they come back in 2017.
Yep.
Basically.
So they were allowed to start distilling again in 2017. So on February 2nd of 2017 is when they put the first barrel on the rack.
Wow, so they didn't take long at all.
Yep. So they kept the company this whole time throughout the years, but then when they were finally allowed to come back and like distill within Memphis, they were like, let's do it. Like,
oh well. Yeah, but you got to think
keeping the tradition.
That what 30-something days, 30+ days for it to go in, and then putting them one barrel in.
Yep.
So that's pretty good.
Pretty quick, if you ask me. Yeah. But they were no hesitation.
They were sitting on that for a while.
Yeah,
they were all right. Dump it.
Yep.
So
and now I think the story goes too that when they were later, like a couple in the early 2000s, they found an old bottle of the toddy like in the ceramic jug, and that's kind of what sparked
the interest,
the resurgence of this. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was just like hidden in a warehouse, all dusty, and they're like, "Hey, what's this?" And oh crap, that's
It's either gonna be really good or really bad,
right? But they were like, "Hey, let's bring it back. Let's bring the name back," because it started off with Dominick Canale I gotta look this. Hold on, Domenico Canale from Italy.
That's pretty insane too. I never thought about that. Whenever you look at the like we had talked on one of the other episodes, the difference in background, because you look at like American bourbons, that they comes from Italy, didn't you say? So I mean,
yep. So and I have the notes here. So in 1843, the founder Domenico Canale was born, and he later moved to Memphis from Italy, and then they started the wholesale grocery business, including wine and liquor. So the whole time they were kind of like at least distributing it. And they were working with that. So then they were like, that's when they were like, why don't we kind of start doing this ourselves too? Like, why don't we make our own?
Yeah, they ended up making something people started liking, and they're like, well, get into it. So,
right.
I mean, this is some consumer-based product.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, like I said, it was the ceramic jars, which we have a ceramic jar up there. You can't see it, but we do have a ceramic jar. So it's kind of not from Old Dominick, it's from a different brand, but it's kind of cool to look and be like, that's what they did used to sell them in. It's kind of reminiscent of the old days, and I think that's kind of cool instead of these glass bottles.
Yeah, no, it definitely smells good just off the nose on the bottle. It's very, very sweet, it smells really good.
So yeah, no, this is a great smelling one.
Yeah, like I caught that like time I opened the bottle. It's like, wow.
And I love the aroma on this one.
Yeah, that's
It doesn't smell high proof.
no.
You know how sometimes you get that high proof, and you're like, you've right off the bat you smell the ethanol. And
Yeah.
you're just like, damn, it kind of stings. Like this doesn't have that. I mean, you can tell it's there, but it's not.
Yeah, well, if you stick your nose like I did
Yeah.
all the way in there, but no, it's crazy how you can have some like, even on the nose, like you said, that like some of the higher proofs are like very, very potent.
Yes.
And you can have some 90s that are very, very potent.
Right.
And then it's like they're like, wow, it's remarkable how the distillers and stuff like that have able to figure it out. Like I said, like with this one going into the barrel at 110 and coming out at 123, there's stuff on there that we don't know what's going on with it. So they were really able to figure out. They got something going good for them, especially on the nose. Because sometimes time I popped, I was like, wow, it smells
right off the bat. You're just like,
smells good. Maybe that's why I poured me a little bit more than I
you're
normally
like, gotta
do.
have a little bit extra now.
Yeah.
But no, but it does have a really good. It has a sweet aroma too.
Yeah, very much so.
I'm getting a little bit of honey on that. Apricot. And there's a little bit of that oak to it, but it's not. It's a faint in the end.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Now, this is the first pour of the day. So my palate's not acclimated, but there is no... You can tell that rye spice is there, but there's no, like, high-proof burn. There's no heat to it.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't it?
That's balanced, too.
It's complex, but balanced.
Very much so. I can tell the higher proof. And my allergies are acting up, so it's not that bad. But no, it definitely is it's very balanced.
It is.
And it's like a steady burn. That's not like up there.
I'm not even getting that burn, even though I haven't had anything today.
Well, that's like me too. I haven't had anything either.
But I'm not really getting that much burn. Like, I'm getting warmth coming down and as it, like, simmers for a little bit. But it's not hot. It's not like,
no.
This is drinks.
Well,
to me, this drinks closer to like a 115.
Yeah. How it's that steady. It's kind of, I'll say steady burn. It's more of it's not like it doesn't increase and rapidly die down or rapidly decrease and rapidly go up. It's like it's steady, which I like that because you're getting something that's like the whole time you're drinking it. You know what you're going to get.
Right, and this one got a really good long finish to it. I think it's got a really good mouthfeel. I'm getting a lot of chocolate, but like a little bit of rye to it. The rye spice isn't overly, like, it's not overbearing. Like, you can tell, you're like, yeah, that's obviously a high rye bourbon. Like, it's spice. It's that, like, allspice cinnamon-like flavors, but it's not overpowering. And then I get chocolate and then a little bit of buttery at the end.
Okay, I get that too. I'm getting a slight little bit of, it kind of stacks on me. I'm getting, like, caramel, then vanilla, and then I'm getting on the middle to the back end, I'm actually getting those grains, which I'm starting to. Originally, I didn't like them.
No, you were not like a grain forward type.
No. I'm not. I'm not a grain forward type person, but I'm finding myself liking grain on the back end. So this one is grain on the back end. I'm getting that right there at the end, a grain on the back end, and then, like you said, the grain on the back end followed by that slight little bit of char, or not char, but toast.
Yeah.
In a way, like oakiness.
Yep.
And
now, I don't know what char they're. I don't know if they're doing a 3 or a 4 char in this one, but I'm not getting that like charred oak. It's
like oak. Like
yeah.
That's what I was meaning.
It's like between a toast and a charred oak.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's the taste I'm getting on it. It's not super tannic or anything like that.
Yeah, I can taste it on the back end of I get the grain and then that oakiness.
Yep.
But it's like a smoky oak, not a it's smoky oak. That'd be the best way of
I
me to
could see
describe
that.
it. Would be like a smoky oak.
You know what would be really good actually? Pouring this into a rocks glass and then smoking it. I think that would actually be pretty good. I might have to do that later with my smoking kit. I think would be unique.
I think this one right here would go really good with a cigar too.
Oh, I think
I don't know. Well,
maybe not for me. I think that I like for the cigars, I'd rather have a sweeter bourbon instead of like more of like a wheated than a high rye because I like to cut the cigar. So the cigar always gives you that bold, smoky flavor, a little bit of spice sometimes depending on the cigar. I don't know if I would want a high rye bourbon to go with that. I'd want something a little bit sweeter to kind of like counteract it.
Okay. Well, to me, I get like this is sweet. Like it's really sweet to me.
Yep.
It kind of
to me, I get that rye. Like this is a good spicy rye bourbon.
well, I do too. But so right off the bat, the smell and then the mouthfeel and what I'm getting up front right off the bat, it kind of reminded me of the Heart Release. But then it's got a higher proof and higher that rye, which I'm a really big fan of it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely
I mean, hot take. This is better than the Heart Release.
yeah. Well, it's more. Yeah, it's more. I'll put it there.
Yeah.
Like I'll put it there. Now, and I'm a big fan of it. I'm a very big fan of the Heart Release.
More than I am.
Yeah, yeah, and but I like the higher proof stuff, and this definitely is, in my opinion, if you are a fan of the Heart Release and you are looking for something that is, if you like the higher proofs like myself, and Chris is, and you're looking for something that's got a little bit more depth and more bite to it, this bottle is definitely
one to go for.
Yeah, and it's also what would be the price point on it then compared to the Heart Release?
I think in our area it was like 55 plus tax on it. I think it was like right around the 60 mark.
Okay, well then that's good. Well then that's just about $20, $15 to $20 depending on where you're finding it. Because the two bottles that I got them straight from the distillery.
Yep.
And I paid $75 a piece.
Right.
Give or take. So
which means here they'd probably be like 90 to 100.
Yeah. So yeah, for half, well, I'd say maybe 3/4 of the price.
Yeah.
3/4 of the price. That bottle right there, like you said, hot take would be. I would prefer that better, and I'm a huge fan of Heart Release, but that one
is good. The Heart Release is good, but I think this is just better. I think it's more complex.
It is, and which is going back to what I said. I've had the Heart with cigars, and this one, I think, in my opinion, I would like to try it with it because I like the higher proof. Because I like the 1792 full proof with my cigar. So I think I like the higher proofs with them. So
which I think that one with a cigar is good too. I don't get as much spice on the 1792, so I can see how that one is better with a cigar itself. Mm-hmm. But this one, I personally would not want it with a cigar.
Yeah, well, I like the more sweeter cigars anyway. So and with the rye, it kind of brings it more sharpness back to it.
You're cutting it differently.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of you. So and that's the one thing too is like for people that are trying something different, try different things. Like go back and figure out what you want. Because I've seen some guys like we've had, for instance, doing the same thing.
Yep.
They like different aspects of it. And like you like one thing and I like something different.
Right.
But it works.
But I can't not stress this enough though. It is hard to pair a cigar with a bourbon, in my opinion, unless you are like a professional at it. So I found ones that I like, and I keep those in my humidor at all times so that when I can go out and smoke one, when the wifey lets me, but when I can't go out and have one, no, I know which ones I like and I know which bourbons like to go with it. Now, I like other stuff with it too, like, sometimes a brandy or anything like that because they're a little bit sweeter, but I also like that bolder, typical like cigar, I guess. I don't like the sweeter ones. So for me, it's always like I'm going for a bold, rich, deep cigar. Mm-hmm. So I want something to cut it. Where you're I'm
the opposite. I'm the opposite, and I think this bottle right here is definitely one that would, in my opinion, would go really good with that. Yeah. So if you're somebody that's liking the sweeter cigars, or you're liking the sweeter bourbons, and you're trying to play around with something that's more higher proof, that's got a little bit more depth to it, and you're also if you're trying to look into get into high rise and you're trying to play around with that also, I think this is a very bottle that it kind of checks off a lot of different marks, in my opinion. It does for me in general, because I'm looking for something that, one, pair with other things, simply like the cigar and stuff like that, and I can experiment with it. But also, two, I've been playing around with getting into the high rise, and then also
because you've always been a weeded person. You like the weeded bourbons.
Yeah, I like that, and I'm trying to widen my range with stuff, and like I said, I'm trying to also get into more of the high rise because I found there's an abundance of bottles out there that are definitely more readily available than a lot of the good weeded stuff.
Right, so, it's true.
And with this one, like I said, it definitely checks off a lot of my boxes for me because I'm getting something that is similar to something that I like already. Yep. But it has more depth and more proof to it.
Right.
And I like that.
And I think, speaking of proof here, I think this is a really good high proof bottle that's also approachable for someone that's been in the bourbon a little bit now, that's gone over the 100 but doesn't know if they want the cask strength. Yeah. I think this is a good approachable one that's like, you see that proof point of 123 and you're like, dang, that's high. Yeah. Like, that's just really high, but it doesn't drink like it. So it's very easy to approach it and see if you really do like that higher stuff.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, like you said, you think it'll go really good if you smoke it, and that being said, you might be able to make a very bomb old fashioned out of it, or it's got a higher proof than what you would normally readily do. So, and that being said, if you get it to begin with, and it's like, oh, that's still too much, try it in old fashioned. Don't just like, oh, I'm not going to touch the bottle anymore. Yeah. Try again. Try it with Try it in old fashioned. Put some ice in it, and just go from there. Don't neglect the bottle.
Now, at the same time, too, now where we are, well water is not that good.
Yeah.
At all. So we have filtration on the fridge, but I'll take some of the fridge water on some of these like really high proof ones. That if I just want to see if it opens up a little bit more, and take a couple droplets of like that fresh water, and it really opens it up sometimes. Now I haven't done it with this one, so I don't know if that's going to change some of the flavors in a really good way, or if it's just going to make them pop just a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, speaking on that old fashioned, you have a good base. This is a good base for a cocktail as well. So it's like you start with that. By the time you add in your bitters and you chill it down and you put the ice and it dilutes it a little bit, it's still going to be a high proof cocktail, but I think it's going to really shine at the same time.
Yeah, and and I really like this bottle. Like I'm a very big fan of this bottle now, because I'm getting those notes, and that remind me so much of something that I like to begin with.
Yep.
And like I said, I love higher proofs. So this checks off 3 or 4 of my boxes that definitely I'll have to definitely get me.
Now I got this one at our local Food Lion. So that family owned story is what really hits home for me, is the fact that they owned it since 1866, like I mentioned earlier, right? And then it was always something that they dabbled in, it seemed like. So when they were doing the grocery distribution and whatnot, they always had that toddy that they were also distributing too, that they created. And even once he died, he let his sons take over and whatnot, and they grew it like crazy. And so much, they had, at one point, the largest refrigerated distribution or warehouse for groceries or whatever, and were teamed up with Anheuser-Busch.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I know you're a big fan of that.
I love my Budweiser. Yes. I got a whole 12-pack for tomorrow for the party. But yeah, no, so they grew that business for so long and always kept with the tradition of having the whiskey there. And then obviously Prohibition came, and then that some thrived, some didn't. Mm-hmm. So I think it was really cool. And it was 2013 that they brought it back when they found that dusty bottle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was from the same family. So the family was going through one of their warehouses. And
okay.
Yeah. So like when they say this is family owned, this has been passed down for generations.
That's good.
But it was always but at one point, so they branched off. So it was always I don't know what the laws were back then. I could probably deep dive and really find out if I wanted to. But for the most part, it seemed like they could sell the beer and the wine or the liquor or whatever it was. And now the distribution is completely different after Prohibition and whatnot. But it was always the grocery distribution. Now they went from Chicago all the way down to Mississippi and New Orleans. Like they had basically the entire East Coast. But yeah, they were the biggest. So they've always had the funds to do stuff and, keep it going. So once they kind of decided to branch off and say, okay, now that Anheuser-Busch, we're teamed up with them and all that stuff, they're like, and they found that dusty bottle in 2013. They were like, okay, how can we revive this? We have the funds, we have the backing, we have the family history behind it and whatnot. So why not do it? They already did it once before. Why not do it again? Mm-hmm. And then being that they couldn't do it in Memphis, I don't know if they sourced bottles prior to that just to get started or whatever. But once that distilling was allowed in 2017, they were first ones to jump right on it.
Like you said, come in 2017, they started like February of 2017.
Yeah, so February, let me look at my notes here. So February 2nd of 2017 was the first barrel was filled and put in the rick house.
They were on it.
They were straight on it. They were like ready to go, like 100%. So, 1982 is when they separated the food and the beverage businesses. Well after Prohibition, that's when they started separating it, and they each kind of took their own course.
That's crazy how they were able. Well, it's a good thing too, because you got all these places you'll find out they got to have a huge financial backing, but for them to be able to.
Sorry, I need to correct myself here.
Okay.
They don't have the business anymore for the distribution of groceries. The food distribution they sold in 1999, and the beverage distribution was sold in 2010.
Okay. But they still had a backing.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you sell a business that big, I'm not going to go looking into their funds. Like, I'm not that.
No.
I'm not going to look into that. That's just not. I don't give that much of a crap. But being that they had that, and then in 2013 they were able to find that bottle, and they literally called it the surprise bottle.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that kind of like 3 years after you sell,
kind of fell in their lap. They had all this. Well, we were assuming, but they were assuming they had all these funds, and they didn't know what they're going to do. You know, what's next on the bucket list or whatever items they want to do. They find that and like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Let's go find this, and they start doing that.
So like 3 years after they sold their last business, pretty much, they found that bottle. So it was kind of like the way I see it, in my opinion, here is that they were like, what's the next step in our life? Like, what's the next thing? And they were like, this. Why not this? Like, this literally fell into their lap. So they're like, why would we not continue the family tradition that was forgotten? And let's bring it back.
And it's good stuff.
It's great stuff.
It's really good stuff.
Great stuff. Like, this is on my go-to shelf. Like, this is like someone asks like, hey, I'm looking for something that's well balanced or complex, but I want to learn a little bit more about it in terms of like the flavors. Like, this is the one I'm like, try this.
Yeah, but because like you said, it's got a very good nose. It's got a remarkable. It checks a lot of boxes.
The palate all the way through the finish is remarkable.
Yeah, because
it's constant.
It's constant, but at the same time, I'm getting a lot of different flavors and stuff firing off the entire ride, basically.
And you had a little bit bigger pour than me, and now granted, I've had a lot more of this than you have, obviously, but you get to try this, and at every step, it's always a little different. Like, the whole time that's been in the Glen, it's changed just a little bit, but a noticeable little bit.
Yeah. I'm getting more grain now. Yeah. But the thing is, though, I'm starting to find myself more, I'm okay with it. I don't like grain up front.
Yeah.
But I'll take it on the back end.
Yeah.
And on the back end of the palate and stuff. So it's definitely, I'm getting more grain on the back end than I originally was when I first poured it. But I'm okay with that because I'm still getting that balance, and there's enough complexity there that it's enjoyable.
Right, it is, and that's what I really love about it is that it is a very deep and rich, flavorful bourbon. It's
different too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take it back. It's got enough little characteristics that remind me of something else, but it's not. It's 50% of that, and then 50% of their own thing.
Right.
That and I like that because then I can take somebody like that's. I can take them other bottles and work them up to this because, like, say, if they are a lower proof person, I can take this bottle and work them up to a higher proof, and then it opens up like multiple different directions they can go. They can get it might interest somebody in the high rise. It might interest somebody in the
and technically it might deter them from the high rise, but at least it's a good one to try because
because
at the same time, like, they would just be like, man, that's really not like that, or at least. I almost classify this one as like a super high rye. Like, can we make that a category at this point? Like, can that be a thing, please? Because, like, there's high ryes that are like 20, 30%, but this one's a 44%. This is like super high rye bourbon. Still 51% corn, right? So that might tell someone like, man, that's just too much for me. Like, I don't like that one enough. But they're also trying, in my opinion, a top tier bottle.
Yeah, well, in for it being sub 100, sub 80 at that.
Yeah.
Even sub 70, you know what I mean? Depending on where you're at in your taxes and stuff like that. But yeah, you said $60, $60.
Yeah, I think it was like 60 after tax.
Okay, well then 60 after tax, but still, that falls into like a lower category of making it on a better bottle to leave with. That being said, this would definitely be it's a very well-rounded, diverse bottle.
Yeah,
that you can. There's multiple different alleys you can, if you're looking for something different, something that you're trying to get onto. Your guys is going to drink it neat, like we mainly drink all our stuff neat, but guys are drinking it they're looking for something to pair with a cigar, whether if they're smoking a sweeter cigar.
Yeah. But that's all palate.
It's all preference. That's all. But it's saying if you're looking for something, you're looking for something different, and also too for guys that's looking to try different things, that are looking to experiment. If they're just getting into it or they've been doing it for the past 15 years, like we say, this is a bottle you can get and do more than just drink it. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can do all different kinds of things with it. I mean,
and in my opinion too, it's like sometimes you get that super high, that super good stuff, like, you know, the stuff that's like allocated but delicious and whatnot. But then you kind of spoil yourself because you're like, damn, like this is always so good. But then you're like looking at the budget, it's like, damn, these bottles are 80, 90, 100, 150, whatever it may be.
If you can even find them.
If you can find them. Now it's like, all right, now you can have a bottle that you can easily get, readily available.
Yes.
That's sub $70.
Yes. Yeah, because and the thing is,
it compares to the other ones. So you're not ruining your palate by sacrificing quality.
No, you're not. And the one thing I like about it is some of my go-tos, it's kind of funny, or have been those $70, $75 bottles compared to the $100+ bottles that I have. And I mean, I'd rather if I'm going to sit there and drink those and actually drink more than just one like birthday pour or one thing out of it. And I keep going back I'll go back to those, but they're like 90s or 110 proofs. But I like the higher proofs. So this is something that definitely checks another box for me where I'm not breaking the bank, but I'm also getting all those characteristics that I want. And I can take this bottle, spend $60 on it. Me and you take it if we drink half the bottle in one night, sitting there, just
that'll be a fun night then.
I know that, but I'm saying like if I take it to a bottle share, or I take it to something like that, I got enough that I got the story behind it. And I'm not breaking the bank. If I take it there and people really like it, that's really, really good. To drink the whole bottle, that's fine. I'm not gonna like stress about it. Have to go tell my wife and get chewed out by my wife.
Yeah, you're not bringing like a bland straight from the barrel that disappears the entire night. And you're like, damn, there's a couple $100 gone.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, I picked this right here 100 times over any Blanton's. But
I agree with that.
But
thank you for not making me say that's a hot take.
I don't care. Fight me in the comments. But no, that right there is it's got a lot of it checks off a lot of boxes, and I'll say that a lot. But you're hitting with some bangers. We're gonna get some non-bangers on here. People are gonna think all we're doing is straight bangers.
And the thing is, like, the whole point of this and what we're doing is to find these inexpensive, readily available ones that people sleep on because they're out there trying to get those super allocated ones, which are fun to get. Like I have some of them; they're awesome to get. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's so much nicer to find something that's budget friendly that you're like, damn, this is just good.
Yes, and like I said, I love it. I love the allocated stuff. I mean, I can't help it. But if I'm gonna drink something, I find myself actually going more towards bottles like this rather than and it's not for the simple fact of it's easier for me to get them. I mean, it does have a characteristic that plays into it, but I find myself actually enjoying drinking them more. Right. And that's really good for it, what we're trying to do for like the common man.
And I personally find bringing bottles like this that people don't necessarily know about or they've seen it, they're like, damn, I never really had that. They appreciate that more than being like, damn, look at me. I just like, let me grab this Weller that's sitting on the shelf right here and bring that.
Yeah. Well, and
like, people are going to like, they see the Weller. They're like, yes, thanks for bringing that. But then some people also just, what I find personally from my experience is that they appreciate these more like, I guess, craft bottles because they're like, damn, I didn't really want to spend the money on it, even though it was $60. I didn't want to spend money on it.
My point would be, in doing so, is exactly to go off what you said. Is like, I'm gonna bring these ones that people are like, oh, you got that. I said, all right, look, I'll let you get a pour of this, but you got to get a pour of something like this.
It's almost like doing a bundle when you go to a store. Where they're like, you can get this allocated bottle, but you got to buy this one too.
Yeah. Well, I want them to, if they're gonna try that one, they're gonna try this one too, and I want you to blind them. Yep. I want you to give me your honest opinion which one you like, and I guarantee you. I could guarantee you 50% to even probably more people.
I'd say more.
Would pick the unallocated bottle.
Yeah, especially like this one right here. Like I think this will stand out against other ones for sure.
Yeah. Don't sleep on these bottles and don't walk past them when you could really find something you might end up really, really liking. Yeah. And you can do more than just like I said, there's a lot of different things that just checks off that even if you are getting the allocated bottle, for a price point of where it's at, if you spend, you're going around all day and something like that, this is one that you take this home with you. Yeah. And you can play around with it with your buddies, your wife, and stuff like that.
I would feel better sharing this bottle, and not because I don't want to share my allocated stuff, but because I appreciate this one more, and people learn to appreciate it more as well, because they are like, damn, this isn't just like two notes. This is complex. This is balanced. This is good.
This one, be my personal opinion, is for the price point, all the characteristics of which it brings to the table. One thing, you're not going to go wrong with it because it checks a lot of boxes, and I know I've said that a lot, but it really does for me. Whether there's a lot of different applications that you're trying to do. If you're making cocktails, if you're drinking it neat, if you're doing whatever you're doing with it, this one is definitely a bottle that I know I personally have slept on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one that I would look at a shelf and I wouldn't, ooh, I wouldn't go to it. But now it definitely has my respect where I will go to it and be like, oh, right. I definitely want to see it. That being said, though, I think we're towards the end of the episode. I do want to, I want to try this.
Let's give that a try.
I want to give that one a try. Move this one over here.
Now, these are not fresh Glens. Let's make that clear. So kind of kill what you got in that. Now, this is, so the viewers here can see, this is their Tennessee Bonded. So it's a 100 proof Tennessee whiskey. It's 75% corn, 13% rye, and a 12% malted barley. Also, the barrel proof, or the barrel entry was 110. So obviously being bonded, they have to cut it down a little bit to meet that bonded restrictions. But this is not, even though it has the 75% corn to make it a bourbon, it is not considered a bourbon. They are considering it a Tennessee whiskey.
It's got
it's very corn forward, obviously.
Yeah. But it's more sweet.
It is.
It's more sweet corn.
Mm-hmm. And I get a little bit more chocolate on the nose than the caramel.
I get more caramel.
And now I get that on the palate.
I get vanilla. I get vanilla on the nose.
I can see that.
Which I faintly get. I always tend to get more caramels and vanillas on the nose than I ever do chocolate to begin with. But
I tend to also, but like this one, just there's something about that chocolatiness that just coming in.
It smells like a sugar-free syrup, but it's in a good way. Like.
But this is a much easier sipper for someone being that 100 proof. Or if you're trying to have a night where you're not trying to have a high proof. But what I find interesting too, let's grab this bottle here, is if we turn them so you can see them, the colors are pretty close. They're still a nice, deep, rich color together. Like, so you know how sometimes you get that 100 proof bonded and you're like, damn, the color is a little bit lighter because it's been cut.
Mm-hmm.
This one still has a deep color to it, which shows the quality of what they're doing, in my opinion. That's kind of how I view it. Like, if I can see a bonded that has a good deep color, there's quality behind that.
Yeah, well, that's got a, even though it's cut, now, if we'd have done it right, we'd have started with 100 and worked our way up. But because I'm definitely a huge fan of this one.
Yes.
And, but that being said, it's got the same characteristics, but just proof down.
Right. Well, I mean, granted, it's way less on the rye,
yeah.
So it is going to be naturally sweeter, but it is absolutely delicious at the same time.
Yes, very much so. Do you happen to know what the price point is on this one?
I think it was around the same. Maybe maybe like $5 cheaper.
Okay.
So for $5, I'm going going cash strength. Yeah.
I'm going cash strength all day long.
They were like right around the same price. Which I still think is not a bad price for something that's this quality of a bourbon, Tennessee whiskey in this case.
Yeah.
But side by side, I'm going cash strength just because my palate likes the higher proof personally.
Yeah, same. But if you've watched this and if you've gotten this far, and we've kind of thrown a 100 proof in there, and you were kind of worried about the 123.8 proof. Mm-hmm. This one might be your go-to too. So don't don't walk past it too. So if you're looking for
something that someone new or someone that's looking for a good quality bonded, because I know people out there like that have been seasoned vets at this still are like, I want a good quality bonded. Mm-hmm. This is one to go to for a bonded, 100%. Don't get me wrong. Personally, I'm going cash strength.
Yes, I mean, me
every
too.
day of the week. That's just my palate. That's what I like. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I bought both of them though. Like
yeah. Well, you don't regret anything, but it's definitely a.
There are bottles I regret, but
all of us. But it's got a very good aftertaste too.
It's a lingering.
It's not overwhelming.
Yeah, I like this one. I want to see this mash bill with a higher proof. I think that'd be really good. But once again, proof people here, that's just what we want. But it is even cut down, showing how good quality it is.
Yes, 100%. And definitely it's I get a lot of vanilla. I swear.
It is a strong vanilla, that's for sure. I gotta go in for another pour. We're gonna move this one down. Because I need just a little bit. It's good. It's flavorful. I think it's one of the better bondeds out there.
Yeah, I'll give it that, but for it
you're stuck on the cask strength.
Well, that too, but I'm saying for the price. Well,
but you're also looking at relatively speaking, craft distillery. Yeah, they have higher output than our local craft distilleries. Yeah. Like, the one down the road, they're not producing nearly as much as these guys are, but compared to all the other ones out in Kentucky, they're still considered craft. So
I'll see what you're saying.
You're still paying a little bit more based on that, which I don't mind doing to support this, especially knowing the history, the family-owned part of this. Like, being able to support that and continue that tradition that was once forgotten and brought back, and the story behind it, but also having good quality. Because, I'll get suckered into buying a bottle off a good story, and sometimes it's not worth it. It's just not. This one, I think the story backs it, and so does their attention to detail and quality, and bringing to the table something that stands out to the rest.
Yes. So, and I didn't even think about that. So, I could see, I can get that where it does with those characteristics and stuff, with it being more of a smaller facility. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. So, but either way though, I'm always going with the cask strength.
Yeah, I say so. He's going to be buying cask strength first, and then eventually we'll have this one as a selection for when everyone comes over that says, "Hey, I don't want something that high proof," or like when I drive there and I'm like, "We've already put 4 other pours down." I'm like, "I should probably have something a little lower." Sit on that one, but
we have water for that.
Yep. But I think these are great. If you don't have them in your collection, I think you should. I think they're fantastic, and I think the story backs it, and so does the quality.
So 100%, I say this is 100% a right pour.
Cheers.